Hey guys, we are at the last episode of Stargirl Season 2, so welcome to everybody, and I just wanted to say thank you for following this channel and watching it grow all the way through Season 1 and Season 2, and we will continue to do Stargirl videos for Season 3 next year. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and welcome back. Now guys, we find out why Eclipso wants Courtney to become his host. And that's to merge the Earth with the Shadowlands. The portal starts to open in the sky and cracks in the dimension start to bleed through, although we never really see anything else happen. Shadowland creatures flying through to cause havoc, or, maybe I watched too much Ghostbusters and other stuff like that. But you would expect some creatures to actually come through. So would one indicate that there's nothing that actually lives in the Shadowlands? Maybe. But anyway, Beth and Mid-Nite struggle to rescue her parents from an illusion which Eclipso says will kill them, while the JSA fights Eclipso and his own illusions. And Pat fights an older, more sort of grittier version of himself who's more dangerous. Yolanda fights Ted Grant, which was really box office, guys. I think we didn't see enough of that, to tell you the truth. And the most funniest of all was Cindy fighting a younger version of herself who was left behind by her mother. Like that would ever throw Cindy off her game. I mean, I like when Dr. Mid-Nite manages to remind everybody. So we see an amulet-less Rick trying to fix the hourglass, trying to get the hourglass going. And remember, I've always said that those books he's studying is the key to him developing his father's serum. And I'm glad that they didn't Mary Sue their way into him getting them to work. And that in fact, he failed. This does two things, guys. It helps him befriend and recruit Grundy. And it also gives Rick more exposition down the road in Season 3 when school starts back up, and hopefully with the guidance of his teacher, really get into fixing the formula and making it work for himself. So well done to the writers for that. But Eclipso scrambled to the clock tower roof to scream, "It's my time!" Then getting his butt kicked while Mike is inside Stripe. Now, Mike knocked over an icicle in a truck, and now he decides to do the same thing to Eclipso inside Stripe. So this happens because Thunderbolt showed up at the auto shop just in time for Mike to wish a missing engine part, which, quite frankly, Jakeem is making the wishes, Mike's doing the requests. So that's how that works, because let's face it, Jakeem has just messed everything up. We see flying bikes and everything around the place. So I also want to talk about Zeke as well. Now, firstly, Zeke guides Stripe's pilot, just like Alfred does in the Batcave for Batman. He's there on a microphone telling Mike what to do, and it's kind of cool, but we didn't really get enough of it, to be honest. Secondly, the look on Zeke's face when he sees Thunderbolt is priceless. That's the same look all of us would have had if we just saw this genie pop out of nowhere. Guys, we believe in miracles and the wonders, of course, but have any of us ever actually seen it in real life? Heck no. So Zeke was rocking it for all of us comic book fans worldwide out there, including him attaching a buzzsaw arm and the flamethrower. Man, I'm rubbing my hands in anticipation to see what he can create for Stripe in Season 3. So after Eclipso deals with them, Rick steps up as our man without the powers, because remember, he couldn't get it going. Then tag teams a Q with Solomon Grundy, who starts battering Eclipso. But Eclipso is more than a match for Grundy, who seems to be bigger than everybody else, but Eclipso just shows that Grundy is weaker than everybody else, because Rick kicked his butt in Season 1, and now Eclipso's kicked his butt. So no wonder he ran off to the woods, like he can't even win a fight. He reminded me of the Hulk in Age of Ultron when they used him as a jobber for Tony Stark's Hulkbuster suit. So I really think that they need some more exposition on Grundy. He needs to win a fight. Let's face it, guys. He's just been a pawn in this first 2 seasons of Stargirl. But Eclipso blasts a hole through his stomach. And when I mean a hole, I mean we could fit through Grundy's hole. That's how big it was. And it kills Grundy. But remember, as Shade pointed out, Grundy always can come back. So in the comics, he's virtually indestructible and immortal thanks to the elemental energy that imbues his body. In fact, sometimes he even returns from death with a different personality and different powers. A little bit like Groot from Marvel. So some of you comic fans might remember that Solomon Grundy is rescued in a glacier in the comics by Alan Scott's daughter Jade. So instead of Rick, Grundy actually becomes loyal to Jade and for a while is an ally of Infinity Inc. So this is where Pat comes into the fight, and of course Pat is in danger. But Courtney comes to the rescue and Eclipso threatens to rip Pat's arms off, forcing Courtney to go full dark side Sith Jedi, screaming, "I hate you." This was like a Darth Vader, "I hate you," or shall I say Anakin against Obi-Wan, "I hate you." And this is just what Eclipso needed to make her embrace the dark side and for him to inhabit her as a new host. So this is where the show's dynamic really starts to bear some fruit. Cindy and Yolanda, I love these two together, they both have the closest relationship to Courtney, and in their own way, of course, they debate killing Courtney as Eclipso's host. But Yolanda convinces her frenemy to instead focus on taking the staff away. So Eclipso's declaring he's the only one that can control the staff. Then you hear some hopeful music in the background, and dun dun dun, Sylvester Pemberton, aka Starman, steps in and says, "Well, maybe two." So was this worth the wait, guys? I'm not sure. It was a little underwhelming. I mean, they left it so late in the game that this was probably the only way that they could have brought him back. They still haven't explained how he came back. I did explain that in the pages of Stars and Stripes, the comic book, the 7 Soldiers of Victory, which Pemberton and Dugan was a part of, became scattered across time and space in the battle with the Nebula Man. And they appeared in the future. So maybe that's the reason why he was sent forward in time. Because remember, guys, he's been missing for over a decade. So he's essentially come forward in time without aging, to be honest. And Starman then helps bring the light back to Courtney to break her free of Eclipso. Shade is involved in the blast. Green Lantern's Jade, she blasts him with the ring. As a fatality, or let's just say this is called a finishing move because it's a family show, Jakeem wishes that Eclipso was toast. So Thunderbolt turns him into a toast. So I think here, guys, they win the day. But Robert Todd, aka Mr. Bones, so his name was dropped in an earlier episode when Nurse Love was talking to him on the phone. And when Courtney and Pat were searching for Jenny's brother, or Jade's brother, aka Todd Obsidian, but all we see is a nurse speaking to him on the phone, as I said. So Mr. Bones was created by Roy and Dan Thomas and Todd McFarlane in 1985's Infinity Inc. So originally as a second-tier supervillain who operated as a part of Helix, but his popularity kind of led DC to turn him into a fully fledged member of Infinity Inc. He later then will go on to serve in the comics as the DEO, director named Director Bones, and we know that from the Supergirl TV show. So will he be the villain? I'm not sure, guys. Maybe. I think he knows that one of those heroes might be able to help him defeat a more likely, stronger character. But look at him as in a Hugo Strange or Mr. Sinister, someone who kidnaps the kids to do experiments on them. That's something that might happen in season 3. But right now, we have the Justice Society of America consisting of Stripe, Wildcat, Our Man, Dr. Mid-Nite, Shiv, Cindy, yes, I called it 2 weeks ago, guys. Remember, I said she was going to join a team. And a lot of you guys was like, no way, Apollo. No way she joins a team. Well, she's joined the team. So the helping roster is Solomon Grande, Sportsmaster, Tigress, Artemis, and The Shade. There's also Mike and Thunderbolt, Jakeem Thunder, Jade, and the Golden Age Flash in the fold if we ever needed them. Because we still don't know what's happened to Flash at this point in time. But for someone who I mentioned a month ago, nobody is still talking about, and that's Alex Montez, Yolanda's cousin. He was the host of the Spirit of Eclipso in the comics. So for me, there's room for Eclipso to come back. I know he's a bit of toast, but there could be, you know, in the way that Voldemort puts a holocron into different people that helps him come back to life, Eclipso could have done the same thing. And also, part of his spirit might be in Paintball, who's still in jail. So some of the memorable moments in this episode was Beth and Chuck suiting up together. I love that. Yolanda confirming that she's back as Wildcat for good, with no real resolution to her pacifism issue. However, with Cindy on the team, one can only hope that she's keeping an eye on her friends closer than enemies. With Cindy around, if Cindy decides to turn on the team, it would be Yolanda who takes her out. Mike also suggests that he and Jakeem should start their own thing. But Starman would like to show Stargirl what the Cosmic Staff can really do. Well, we kind of know because she was flying around and doing all that stuff in season 1. But she barely touched the skies in season 2. So maybe he can teach her how to fly again. But on a serious note, let's check out what the powers were in the comics. Obviously, it enabled him to fly, check. It increased his strength and agility, check. Project blasts, check. So Courtney can do all of that, although the super strength thing may be questionable. However, in the comics, Starman also had the ability to create solid light objects. So Courtney can't do that. So I think maybe it's not about teaching her what it can do, but rather than actually what the staff is. As I said before, the cosmic staff isn't sentient in the comics and it's alive here. So maybe he can sort of add a little bit of that, you know, why the staff is sentient, why it's alive, and a little bit of the makeup. So I look forward to seeing that. And Cameron finally finished his painting on the wall in the street, which is when his grandparents turned up and say it was time to tell them the truth about his icy family. Another thing as well is Barbara tells Courtney that Jenny made it safely to Milwaukee. Man, can we ever get a break? CW can only get worried about the cost of the Rings visuals. Or could it be that they have plans for John Diggle and that might finally bear fruit and that's going to cost them money? I don't know, but can we have 2 Green Lanterns? Either way, the hero's the most one that we want to see, and we just keep seeing her leave the series. This is the second time that Jade has left the series, which is a real shame. Also, guys, some of you might be asking about Mary Pemberton, who was a superhero known as Gimmick Girl, which was Sylvester's sister. But we won't be able to see her in season 3 because remember, guys, sister Mary and the nephew Henry were both killed and murdered by his brother-in-law Brainwave, as the Pemberton parents were also killed when Sylvester was a young man, which is why he has nowhere to go now and he's staying with the Dugans. But this incarnation of Sylvester blends in the elements of the comic book counterpart with Jack Knight, son, and the original Starman Ted Knight. So the wielder of the cosmic staff before Courtney in the comics, Sylvester never really took the name Starman, nor did he kind of wield the cosmic staff. He more so wore the belt. And this Sylvester Starman's costume is really based on his counterpart Skyman. So that's where all the differences is, and they're kind of combining that in to make this TV character. But guys, as I said, the doorbell rings and Pat and Courtney meet their new neighbours, the Crocs. Cue the end title for season 3, Frenemies. So the Crocs move in next door, which is where the Whitmore and the Dugans, much to their dismay, find out that they were not released on good behaviour, but their daughter let them out. So what's left to uncover in season 3? Does Artemis now join the team? Is the Gambler still out there? Because remember, he hasn't been killed. And more importantly, which is what I questioned in my reviews this season, is Brainwave really in Yolanda's mind? Remember, her vision started well before Eclipso came in, and he was more so playing off of that. So I look forward to that paying off in season 3. Also, what was Starman doing for the last 10 years, and did he really propel himself forward in time? Is there a Lazarus Pit working like there is in Arrow, Earth Prime, and the Titans universe as well? Those universes we know have a Lazarus Pit. So, look, overall, really enjoyed this episode. I give this an 8.5 out of 10. And for me, it was a wonderful, heartwarming ending with comedy to boot, with the Crocs moving next door. I really, really cannot wait to see that dynamic as season 3 looms. This is going to be like Desperate Housewives. I really can't wait for that to happen. But guys, not sure if Mr. Bones will be a villain or someone who's going to be somewhere in between. Always happy to hear your thoughts and what you thought of the season as a whole. But guys, listen, I'll leave it over to you and I'll speak to you in the next one. Peace out.